Is Mickey Mouse about to lose his house? It seems woke Disney fairy tales equal low ticket sales. Box office analysis of Disney's last 8 studio releases show a shocking loss of nearly $1 billion. That's almost a lawsuit. It's gotten so bad, Cruel DeVille is selling dogs at Chipotle. Pocahontas had to open a casino. And Peter Pan had to cancel his gender affirmation surgery. Sorry, Peter. That's according to a number crunch by prominent YouTuber Valiant Renegade, who argues that many of Disney's recent so-called hits barely broke even or flat out tanked. That includes big budget Marvel movies like Black Panther 2, Ant-Man 3, as well as animation bombs like Strange World and Lightyear, and my favorite, Snow White and the 7 Drag Queens. The latest Indiana Jones, also produced by Disney, could suffer a similar fate if the terrible reviews are anything to go by. It doesn't look good, I'm told 80-year-old Indiana Jones spends the entire film looking for the men's room. For some of us, that is a treasure. And what does this say about Disney? Once a cultural icon of American family values, it's succumbed to the siren song of wokeism, devolving into an out-of-touch and desperate divorced dad bereft of imagination. Fact is, we all liked Mickey Mouse before he started scolding us about people's pronouns. But lefties can make you learn to hate everything from Disney to school teachers to sport.
Disney is facing trouble, but not in the way you might think. Despite headlines about box office flops and controversial remakes, the company isn't necessarily suffering from these setbacks. In fact, Disney seems to be caught in a cycle of controversy, but believe it or not, that might be exactly what they want. You've heard the saying, bad publicity is still publicity. And for Disney, extreme backlash can mean extreme attention. Movies like The Little Mermaid and the upcoming Snow White remake have stirred up debate over casting choices, actor comments, like those from Rachel Zegler, and a general lack of enthusiasm from audiences. But instead of avoiding the controversy, Disney leans into it. After all, when people are constantly talking about you, whether with love or criticism, your name stays in the spotlight.
2005 is when Bob Iger becomes CEO of Disney. 18 years ago, he becomes CEO, right? At the time, Disney's worth $47 billion. He becomes chairman in 2012. Company's worth $90 billion. He steps down as CEO and executive chairman February of 2020 at the top, $328 billion. This is Disney Plus era, right? 2021, he steps down as executive chairman, returns as CEO November 2022. 2014 valuation of Disney was $160 billion. 2024 valuation of Disney is roughly $170 billion. In 10 years, valuation increased only $10 billion. That's not a good thing. That's 5% increase of the company's valuation in 10 years. That's like putting your money in a savings account at a bank. That's the kind of returns Disney brought. Is that correct or no, Tom?
That's exactly right, and that's why all these investors are pissed.
We've got Disney just reporting its earnings of $1.39 a share. That's well ahead. I mean, well ahead of the $1.19 estimates that had been analysts had been expecting. It's on revenue of $23.16 billion. That's also ahead of estimates. This marks the first revenue beat since May 2023. Disney's entertainment segment operating income nearly tripled to $1.2 billion. Now, that's well ahead of the $833 million the Street was looking for there. The company saying the performance strong performance was due to, quote, significantly improved results in direct-to-consumer and content sales, licensing, and...
Interested in seeing the same stories rehashed with slight variations. Disney has relied heavily on nostalgia to drive ticket sales, but that strategy is losing steam. Audiences are becoming more selective, and many feel that these remakes lack the magic of the originals. The Snow White remake is a prime example. With a staggering budget of over $330 million, it ranks as Disney's second most expensive film ever. Filming at Pinewood Studios and other iconic UK locations, along with pandemic-related delays, sent costs soaring. Even with a $41.1 million reimbursement from the UK's Film Tax Relief Program, the expenses remain astronomical. And it's not just production costs that are high. Disney is pouring just as much into marketing. From social media blitzes and TV ads to brand partnerships and merchandise, Disney is ensuring its films are everywhere. But when box office returns don't justify these massive investments, the losses add up fast. The Little Mermaid is a clear example. Despite intense publicity, it barely broke even. This pattern is becoming a major issue for Disney. The company is betting big on expensive productions, yet failing to see the returns they once did. If audiences continue to reject these remakes, Disney may be forced to rethink its strategy before these financial misfires become a bigger problem. Disney's struggles go beyond a few box office disappointments. They're facing a bigger issue: audience fatigue and franchise overload. For years, Disney has dominated the industry by expanding its biggest franchises, from Star Wars and the Marvel Cinematic Universe to live-action remakes of its animated classics. But even kings can fall. The constant stream of sequels, prequels, and spin-offs is wearing audiences out. What once felt like must-see events now feels like just another installment in an endless cycle, making it harder for Disney to recapture the excitement of its past successes. The entertainment landscape is evolving, and younger generations aren't as invested in traditional Disney content as their parents were. Short-form videos, gaming, and anime are capturing more attention than ever, and Disney's attempts to modernize often spark backlash. Instead of drawing in new audiences, these efforts can alienate longtime fans who feel the brand is losing its identity. Nostalgia alone isn't enough to keep Disney at the top. They need to adapt without losing what made them iconic in the first place. Disney's box office flops aren't just isolated failures. They're part of a larger trend affecting the entire company. With increased competition in the streaming market and mounting pressure from shareholders, Disney can't afford to keep throwing massive budgets at films that struggle to break even. If they don't rethink their approach soon, they risk losing their position as the ultimate entertainment powerhouse. But here's the twist. Despite all of this, Disney might not even care. In Part 2, we'll explore why these losses might not matter as much as you think.
Of how things are shaping up for the direct-to-consumer business, which is such an important component of investors' view of the company.
It is. Maybe I can provide a little bit more specificity. First of all, we've done really well in terms of streaming, in the sense that we launched Disney Plus only in 2019, so it's just over 4 years ago. In a very, very short period of time, we find ourselves second to Netflix in terms of global subscribers for a pure streaming business. We know that we ended up losing a lot of money on that, more so than we expected initially. Part of that was because we were chasing sub growth and not as focused as we needed to be on the bottom line. I came back, the losses were around $4 billion a year. It was clear that that was not sustainable and not acceptable. And the goal was, first, let's reduce those losses. And as we've said, we're going to be profitable in our fiscal fourth quarter this year. We lost, I think, $130 some odd million in the last quarter. That's a huge, huge improvement. And we know exactly how we delivered that improvement. Now what we have to do is turn it not just into a profitable business, into a growth business. A business that has margins that this company and our shareholders would really be proud of.
Double-digit margins then, right?
Eventually, yes, double-digit margins, of course. The way to do that is actually very, very clear to us. It's very, very clear that we need more engagement in terms of consumers spending time on.
Forget that Disney isn't just relying on box office numbers. Their real power lies in their vast entertainment empire and every big movie release, even a controversial or underperforming one, helps drive traffic to Disney+. When people engage with Disney content, whether through heated debates or nostalgia-driven curiosity, they're more likely to explore the company's streaming platform. Even if they're not rushing to theaters, they might still subscribe to Disney Plus to revisit classic films, check out spin-offs, or watch exclusive content. Disney understands that traditional box office success is no longer the only measure of a film's value. Streaming, merchandise, theme parks, and licensing deals all play a role in making their properties profitable. A high-profile flop in theaters might still generate millions in home streaming, toy sales, and cross-promotional opportunities. By keeping their brand at the center of pop culture discussions, Disney ensures long-term engagement, which ultimately benefits their bottom line in ways that go beyond ticket sales. The reality is that Disney is playing the long game. While audiences may grow tired of endless remakes and franchise extensions, the company is banking on its ability to adapt, shift strategies, and stay in the conversation. As long as people keep talking, whether out of love or frustration, Disney remains one of the most powerful names in entertainment. Even if a movie underperforms in theaters, it still plays a crucial role in Disney's larger content strategy. These films are more than just theatrical releases. They're long-term assets that continue generating revenue once they land on Disney+. Once the initial buzz fades, people who skip the movie in theaters may still be curious enough to watch it at home, especially if it sparked controversy or became a trending topic online. This drives traffic to Disney+ and helps boost subscriptions, turning what seemed like a box office failure into a strategic win for their streaming platform. Disney's real focus isn't just on box office success. It's on building a dominant streaming service that can rival Netflix and Amazon. Every high-profile release, whether loved or hated, contributes to that goal. The more people talk about Disney, the more likely they are to engage with the brand in some form, whether by subscribing to Disney+, purchasing merchandise, or visiting theme parks. In this sense, the constant online chatter, whether praise or backlash, serves a purpose far beyond ticket sales. By keeping audiences engaged and maintaining their presence in the cultural conversation, Disney ensures its long-term relevance. Even when individual movies struggle, the company is playing a bigger game, one where attention, brand loyalty, and streaming growth matter just as much, if not more, than immediate box office returns.
On Earth.
Let's have some fun.
Because for more than 2,000 consecutive days, he's visited the happiest place on Earth, Disneyland.
So how many days have you been here?
Today's 2004.
You're crazy.
Jeff writes doesn't think he's crazy, but since January 1st, 2012, the 44-year-old has been at Disneyland every single day.
Are you Jeff?
I am.
Oh my gosh, you are an inspiration, sir.
His girlfriend Karen tags along a few times a week, and yup, their relationship began where else? At Disneyland.
Our first date was on day 660.
Every day, Jeff feels like a kid again, riding his favorite attractions, including the spinning teacups.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Oh my gosh.
What is your favorite thing to do when you come visit?
There's just so much magic.
More Disney content that exists, the more opportunities there are to expand the brand into every aspect of consumer life. Even if a movie struggles at the box office, it still fuels Disney's vast ecosystem of merchandise, theme park attractions, and streaming content. This is why even controversial remakes serve a purpose. They keep Disney's intellectual properties relevant and continually refreshed for new generations. Disneyland and other parks are a prime example of how the company maximizes its IP beyond movies. While films may fluctuate in profitability, Disney's theme parks remain a consistent moneymaker. In 2023, Disney Parks generated a massive $8.95 billion in operating income. Using Disneyland's 22.375% attendance share from 2022 as a reference, the park likely contributed around $2 billion in net profit in 2023 alone. This is where Disney truly wins. Even if a movie doesn't perform well, it can still drive visitors to the parks, increase demand for merchandise, and create new cross-platform opportunities that generate revenue long after the film leaves theaters. These remakes aren't just movies. They're carefully designed marketing tools that extend Disney's brand reach. The Little Mermaid may not have been a runaway box office success, but it still inspired a new line of Ariel dolls, a refreshed ride at Disneyland, and a collection of Halloween costumes. Every new Disney release feeds into this cycle, ensuring that their characters and stories remain part of pop culture, no matter how the films themselves perform. This strategy allows Disney to turn even a controversial or underwhelming movie into a long-term financial win. Reputation in the short term, but the real danger lies in long-term audience alienation. Disney has built an empire on emotional connections, nostalgia, and storytelling, but when fans start to feel like they're just being sold products rather than being told meaningful stories, they tune out. The more Disney prioritizes commercial synergy over creativity, the more they risk losing the very thing that made them successful in the first place. Audiences today are more selective than ever. With an abundance of entertainment options, they don't have to settle for movies that feel formulaic or uninspired. The rise of streaming, gaming, and independent content creators means people can easily find fresh, engaging stories outside of the Disney machine. If Disney continues to rely on controversy and branding rather than genuine audience investment, they might find themselves struggling to maintain long-term loyalty. Another potential issue is the growing frustration among investors. While keeping Disney in the headlines helps maintain cultural relevance, it doesn't guarantee sustained financial success. If high-budget flops continue, and if Disney Plus struggles to maintain profitability in an increasingly competitive streaming market, investors may start demanding real change. Unlike consumers, who can be swayed by nostalgia and marketing, investors care about results. If Disney's strategy stops yielding consistent financial returns, shareholder pressure could force them to rethink their entire approach. Ultimately, Disney's gamble on brand dominance over storytelling could backfire. The magic that made the company a household name isn't just about recognizable characters or massive franchises. It's about creating experiences that truly resonate with audiences. If they lose sight of that, no amount of merchandise sales or theme park profits will be enough to maintain their throne in the long run. Disney's reputation might take temporary hits from backlash, but it rarely affects their overall revenue in a meaningful way. Their empire is so diversified that even if a film underperforms, their theme parks, merchandise, and streaming platform continue generating massive profits. This financial cushion allows Disney to weather criticism without significantly adjusting its strategy. Unlike smaller studios that rely heavily on individual movie successes, Disney can afford a few flops because their other revenue streams make up for it. However, Disney's true strength wasn't always in its ability to dominate the market. It was in its storytelling. Films like The Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, and Aladdin weren't just commercial successes. They created lifelong fans by delivering heartfelt stories that resonated across generations. Today's approach, focused on brand synergy and franchise expansion, might generate short-term profits, but it risks losing the goodwill and emotional connection that made Disney special in the first place. The solution isn't complicated. Shift the focus back to making high-quality, meaningful films that people want to see, not because they're tied to a theme park ride or a merchandise line, but because they tell great stories. The magic of Disney was never just about its intellectual properties. It was about how those stories made people feel. If Disney doesn't pivot, the very essence of what made them an iconic brand could disappear for good. But will Disney listen? That's the real question. Right now, they're gambling that brand recognition and controversy-fueled engagement will be enough to keep them on top. The risk is that they might not even realize the long-term damage they're doing until it's too late.